This is Abnormal Entertainment.
2, 3, 4. Walked into the tunnel just to find the light. Hunted for old demons, looking for a fight. Looked up at the stars, seemed to go forever. There must be a way, it all fits together. Fell into the quicksand, held on to the vines. Never could quite color, stay within the lines. Feels like I have wings, I can fly wherever. This is just a way, it all fits together. Finally saw the world through rose-colored glasses. Gonna share my journey to small and large masses. Give up on my life, no sir, me never. This is how I put it together. This is how I put it together. This is how I put it together.
Hey everybody, this is Daniel Garza, and welcome to another episode of Put It Together. I'd like to start as usual thanking my producer, Mr. Kevin Morris, for all his help and support. Thank you, sir. Inviting all of you to check us out at abnormalentertainment.com, where you can find all the shows on the network, so go check those out. This morning, I'm really excited. He's an old friend, David. I'm gonna butcher your last name because every time I try to say it, I always butcher it. Teitelbaum?
Close enough. Like a book title, and then last name is it's Teitelbaum.
Baum. There we go. David and I met, what is it now? 8 years ago?
10 years. No, 10 years ago already.
Already?
2009, I believe.
We met through a mutual friend, and then we worked together on the web series, The Queerbergs. And then we just stayed friends, and we lost touch with each other for a little while, and then you moved to Florida, so now you're like really far away.
Well, I wouldn't say we lost touch. I would say more of, one of us just had to, I guess, disappear for a little bit to get things situated because this so-called friend kind of left a bad taste in both of our mouths. So I would say that we didn't lose touch because I don't think friends ever lose touch of your real friend. I think maybe we just needed a timeout for reasons that shouldn't have been, but it's okay. We found each other again,
You can't quit me. Let's just put it that way.
Oh God. You're like that drug.
You can move, but you'll always come back. David and I have let's call it's a bromance, man. It is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I would say more on your side since I kind of walk that straight line where yours maybe curves and bends a little bit.
I'm flexible. That's what made me popular in high school.
I've heard stories.
How you doing, man? Thank you for being on the show.
Good. I'm a little hurt right now. Did a little gym work today and twinged my lat, which is the back muscle in my rhomboid. So I'm icing right now as we speak too. So, living the American dream. The wife's in LA working while I stay at home and take care of the children.
That's nice. That's how it should be.
Oh yeah.
So let's get started because you have an interesting story and I want everybody to get as much as we can, from you. David, tell us how you put it together.
Well, for your catchphrase put it together, I wore, some shorts and a white t-shirt today. That was a joke, by the way. I mean, here's the deal. I was born in New York, in Brooklyn, New York, moved to Staten Island at 1. My parents still together after 38 years now. So I didn't have that childhood of, my parents separated and, had to go through different people. However, we did have our own struggles. My dad owned a pharmacy in Staten Island. His partners, stole from him over $100,000. So after living in Staten Island until 94, my parents thought it was best that we moved to Florida for a better life because my park, had needles and drugs all over the park where we were at. Plus we owed the state of New York $100,000. So we moved to Florida and I was a bad child at the time. And then, I remember one day, I was in Manatee Elementary, which is here in Lake Worth, Florida. I remember I got in trouble for something, and I just remember my parents crying. And I was 9 years old then, and I was like, what am I doing? And I just remember I didn't ever want to see my dad cry ever again. It's because it's hard for a man to see his dad cry, especially a straight man. But from here on out, from going like to a really bad student to all of a sudden straight A's, I turned my life around in elementary to where then I went to Roosevelt Middle, which is in Riviera Beach. If you know anything about Florida, Riviera Beach is not a good area. It's actually where they always film the show Cops. In Riviera Beach. It's really bad. Like there was gunshots and there was, during the, what's the shooting in Denver called? Oh my God, Columbine. I was in and there was shootings every day by us too. So it's a really bad area. So the Eminem stories where, the white kid in the mostly black school, I took a car ride to a train station to a bus station, a bus to school every day. And my first day in middle school, my 6th grade year, I remember a black woman walking in the street naked, and that was my introduction. And that was my introduction to Riviera Beach.
Nice.
Yeah.
Everybody should have a welcome like that.
Yeah, that was interesting. And because I was white, the kids would always mess with you. I got punched in the face 9 times. This guy hit me 9 times in the face walking out of a class one day, and I wouldn't fight him back, so I didn't want to get in trouble. So obviously after I was all swollen and stuff, I guess, he got arrested after that, but I didn't fight back. And then the 9th punch finally, then I got angry. So again, that was another lesson of being tough and put it together. Yeah. It just taught me being tough and, perseverance, and no matter what, you get back up and grit your teeth and go through it.
Well, let me ask you, it's tough enough being a teenager.
I was 11.
Wow, not even a teenager yet.
No, middle school, 6th grade's 11 years old.
What is it possible for you at that age to look at the situation and go, there's got to be better than this?
Well, look, I've always grown up in I wasn't growing up in a rich area. I didn't, we were poor because the state stole from we owed the state of New York $100,000. So I never grew up rich. I grew up with good parents. Look at the situation. How many kids do you know that got a car ride to a train station, the train to a bus, the bus to a school in 6th grade? And everyone else, they went to, their parents took them to school. That was it. Me, I was getting up at 5 a.m. and I was going to school by 7:15. So when you're asking the question of, does it get better than this? Well, of course. I see every one of my friends and I'm like, well, Mom, why am I going to school an hour north to get picked on every day, with all these kids who ended up in jail or killed, So, yeah, I always look on the bright side. It's 3 years. It was a magnet program. I was already ahead of the class in terms of education. I ended up graduating number 2 in my class in middle school. But again, if I didn't go through those issues, I wouldn't be the man I am today. So, right. And I wouldn't have made lifelong friends.
Right. And mind you, some of these questions I'm asking because I'm sure some of the listeners are wondering, like, what's going on? Like, what do you think? And ultimately, that's the purpose of the show, is to let other people know that despite the hardships, you can put it together and move forward. So, junior high school, how does that go?
So after Roosevelt, I had a choice. I can go to Suncoast High, which is an IB program, and at the time I think it was like number 1 in the country for high school. It would be a full ride to college if I went there. The problem was, I was like, you know what? I'm tired of doing homework galore, because my best friends went there, and they were doing no lie, like 9 hours of homework a night. So I'm like, who wants to do that? I'm in high school. I want to play baseball. So I ended up going to my local high school, which ended up being the most crowded high school in the state at the time. Santa Lucius. And in fact, while I was in Santa Lucius, I remember our first day, we got into the gymnasium with our principal. The principal says, look to your left, look to your right. Only one of you is graduating. And I'm like, come on now, 1/3 of the population is going to graduate. And that's all baloney. And I swear to God, 4 years later, we went from 1,562 students to 500 and I want to say 60 graduated.
Wow.
He was right. And on top of that, they built 2 more high schools in 3 years around us in 3 years, just to accommodate the students.
Wow.
The reason why I bring up Santa Lucia's is because, again, it was a school that was a mixed population. This was a school where, it was a lot of it was heavily influenced on either African American, Haitian, Spanish, white, Asian. I mean, it was every mix of cultures, like the United Nations there. And again, it taught me how to, work with every culture. Again, I wasn't in an all white school. I wasn't in an all black school anymore. Now I was more ethnicities. You had to work with different cultures, Muslim, whatever, Asian. It just makes you, you come to respect people's different, not laws, but different ethnicities and the way they do things, their practices. So from there, I made the high school team my first year, which, was a blessing because I was like freaking out. Like, high school baseball, St. Lucia's. At the time, they were decent, but not great. By my second year, my sophomore year, we were actually number one in JV. And then by my third year, we were actually number one in the nation for baseball.
Wow.
So my high school was a no-joke high school for sports. We had, our football team had Vince Wilfork, who played for the Patriots, who won the Super Bowl for the Patriots. You actually saw him he was walking out the Super Bowl trophy when the Patriots won this year. The humongous black dude walking out the trophy. He went to my high school. A funny story about him was in middle school, in 8th grade, and he was in 10th grade, and I was a freshman in middle school. I was at the JCC of all places, and they were doing like, all pro team for high school, and he was there like a 10th grader. So I walk up to his daddy, and I'm like, hi, can I get an autograph? And his dad's like, no autographs. Meantime, ended up being Vince Wilfork, who was all pro, all American, number one D tackle. He went to Miami. So this guy's not going to be a Hall of Famer for the NFL. But again, he went to my high school. So our high school was a no joke thing. They were number one in the nation for baseball. They were number one in football for a while. So it taught me a lot of things and how to put it together with different, look, high school for everyone. You'll know, high school for everyone it's a very stressful time. People trying to figure themselves out. Where do you fit? Are you the cool kid? Are you the dork? Are you too heavy set? Are you a jock? So, for me, it was kind of like I was a mix of all. I didn't see myself as anything that was, better than anyone else. I just wanted to play ball and try to make the majors like every other baseball player's dream. So that was my thing, just trying to fit in and do homework. And, I'll be honest, I didn't try my hardest in high school, and I still ended up with a 3.71 HPA and 3.65 GPA. So I kind of coasted through high school. But then from there, I decided, am I going to go to a D1 school for education? Or am I going to play ball, as a walk-on somewhere else in a private school? I went to a private school in West Palm Beach, and, again, I was like the poor kid in college because everyone in college, we had the Anheuser-Busch's nephew going to my college, We had a girl whose father owns like 30 dealerships in South Florida. So this school was a rich school. Yeah, half our population was from kids from out of the country. A lot of these kids were coming from, Sweden and Norway and Asia and all these African countries, and they brought them here to learn the American way of automotive, business, and everything else. So, I did 4 years of that, played ball for 3 of them, ended up being the number one in my major, hotel and business and restaurant. Yeah. And again, I didn't try my hardest because, I didn't see it to be fun. I didn't see it to be worth my time to put my education, because at the end of the day, what's a college education now? College education is a piece of paper that says, oh, I did something great. Unless you're going to become a doctor, a nurse, or a dentist, something that's you really need. I was doing business. I can talk to you right now and sell you ice, and you could be in Alaska. That's what business is. It's learning on the way and learning how to talk to people like I'm doing now with you, versus, going to school and get education. They don't teach you anything.
So at that point, what was your goal? What were you shooting for?
Until the age of 21, until the end of my third year of my college year, I was still trying to make a major league ball player. End of my junior year, I had a big decision. Am I gonna try to play minor league ball and maybe make the majors? I'm only 5'8", and I didn't throw 100 miles an hour. And I sure as hell wasn't getting into the batter's block where guys throwing 100 miles an hour at me. I've been hit plenty of times. A guy throwing 85 miles an hour. Let me tell you something. That 85 mile an hour pitch, it left it left laces on me for weeks, you know? So I was like, I was no way I'm going to step in a box with a guy throwing 100 miles an hour in my head. It's just, it wasn't for me, you know? And I wasn't throwing 100 miles an hour. And I thought, well, am I going to struggle in the minors for 10 years? You know, I'll be poor when I get out. I don't make the majors, you know, like a lot of people do. And I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to start going into my real world. So I ended up getting a job at Bally Total Fitness as a trainer. And at first, when I went in there that day, they were like, oh, there's no jobs available. But the director saw me walking out, and she sees me all the time when I was working out. She says, what are you doing here? You know, I'm looking for a job. She says, you're hired on the spot.
Nice.
So I got hired. And then again, started the whole negativity again. Oh, you're not going to be able to get a client for your first like 3 months. You know, if you get 2 clients in 6 months, you'll be lucky. Well, of course, you tell me something, I'm going to go, okay. And then I'm going to turn around and, you know, do better than what you say. My first month, I ended up selling the most training ever as a first month employee. So yeah, I ended up making like $7,200 my first month of Bally's. So what happened then? Every person hated my guts already. So that was another uncomfortable position where I was a new guy and everyone hated me because I made more money than everyone else my first month. Then it got worse. Then my boss decided to get into a car accident where she was hospitalized for like months. And no one to step up and take the director's position. So my boss, one day came by and I didn't know at the time he was dating one of the other trainers, like my boss's boss. And I guess she was whispering into his ear the whole time. There's a new rookie there that's doing real well. He can talk to people. You know, he knows how to sell. So one day he came up and he approached me and he goes, hey, David, how you doing? I'm like, hey, sir, how you doing? He's like, listen, no one else wants this job. Do you want it? I had a decision. It was November, and I had to make a decision of, do I want to be a full-time college student with my last year and just be a regular trainer where I can make my own schedule, or full-time college student and run a business?
Wow.
I chose the latter, and I go, okay, I'm going to run the business. So my first month, everyone quit.
What?
Well, who the hell wants to be... I stepped in my first month and beat everyone out in training, and by my 4th month, I'm their boss. So everyone that was double my age, a lot of people were like 42, 43. You know, then I had some people that are in their 30s and 20s who were all like, you know, talking trash to me, and now I'm now their boss. So they all said, F you, we're leaving. All of them quit. I had one guy stay out of like 8.
Wow.
While in school full time.
So what happens then?
Then it took me, I told my boss, I said, look, I'm going to be honest, sir. I said, you got to give me 6 months. I said, I graduate in 6 months. I don't want to have the pressure of being fired. Because at Bally Total Fitness and every other gym, at least how it used to be, I don't know how it is now, you're under a lot of pressure. If you don't start making numbers in your first few months, they're going to get rid of you and put someone else in there.
Right.
So I told him, I was like, look, I don't want the pressure. I said, I handle pressure now, but I don't need to be told that I'm sucking or anything when I had everyone just quit on me. I'm in school full time. But I said, I promise you this. You give me 6 months, I promise you I'll be number 1. And true to my word, 6 months later, after graduation, I was number 1.
Nice.
And I ended up winning a trip on a cruise to Carnival, which I would never recommend to people, but Carnival. I got a 3-day cruise. And of course at that point I was 22 and I was just an arrogant person then, talking trash to every single person on the phone. Cause we always had meetings with, you know, South Florida, Central Florida, North Florida. And at that time, I think it was like 30 clubs or 40 clubs in the state. And I was just talking trash. I was like, you know, now you got this 22-year-old kid. I'm running stuff down here. What's your excuses? You know, and then people hated me for that. So, you know, then I became number 1 club, and then I was number 1 club again like 3 months later. But then here's the issue. From there, I hired my own team, which is funny because, one of the guys, Julio, I think you've met before, he ended up following me to California later on. You know, he's always been a loyal friend, but he followed me from Bally's, which is funny because I, again, made lifelong friends. And another friend, Ryan, of mine, we're still really good friends today. So I hired my team and we were rocking for, you know, a year, almost a year we were rocking straight. Then all of a sudden the economy started going down and I noticed things I didn't like. I noticed the vice president started having meetings saying that, hey, we don't want you to pay your employees, on the clock when they're at the gym. As a trainer, you get clients different ways. You can get clients by when they walk up to sign a membership, They can pay for training, which most people don't, because most people don't want to pay $2,000 extra dollars. You can give a first workout for free and then sign the client, or you can work out and you can meet people while you're working out. Most people usually get a client by a first-time workout free, and then they'll sign up. Well, the problem is when you do that, you're supposed to pay your employee because they're working. That's called prospecting. Well, my vice president started telling me, well, we don't want you to do that anymore. When they're not working, get them off the floor. Well, I said, well, how are they going to make money? He goes, not my problem. Figure it out. Because I don't want to see you paying people. Okay. So I started telling trainers that, and trainers weren't happy because how are they going to make money? So what they started doing, my trainers, was they would work for free, which is illegal, heavily illegal, by the way. So I was only 22, but I kind of saw the writing on the wall. I didn't like the fact they were ripping off my trainers. Then Bally's went through bankruptcy and then came out of it, and we had a humongous meeting one day in Sunrise, which was the main headquarters for Florida. And all the people, like the CEO, the vice president of Bally's, like all the major wigs came down there to have a meeting. And they're saying the same stuff, hey, we don't want you guys paying your prospecting, blah, 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 blah. And I stand up. Again, at this point, I've been working, 8, 9 months as a director. But I earned my right to stand up at that point because I was number one. And at 22-year-old kid, I stood up and said, excuse me, isn't this illegal? And I said, how are you going to do this? And they said, sit down and shut up. Okay. So after that point, I walked into my vice president. Again, I had balls the size of beach balls at that time, apparently. I walked into my vice president and said, look, you got 6 months to meet my demand or I'm leaving. And he thought I was kidding. He said that, excuse me, I'm sorry, 1 second.
Sure.
Boys, come over here now. Anyway, so he looked at me, I was kidding. And, he said to me, he goes, what do you mean? And I go, look, I want a $3,000 raise. I was making $24,000 a year. That was it. I was making $24,000 a year in 2008, plus commission, which was my training. And I was only allowed to train like 10 hours a week. That was it. Of course, I was training more because who can live on $30-something thousand a year? I couldn't. Right. So I wasn't allowed to, but my boss let me because he knew I was a hustler. And then my bonus. So the time I made my huge bonus when I came to one again, I was supposed to make like $3,600 bonus. Well, because my sales for retail sales, my retail manager couldn't make her bonus, I lost like 20 or 30% of my bonus. And I was pissed. So I walked into my vice president and I said, I want a $3,000 raise. You have 6 months to meet my demand or I'm leaving. He laughed at me and thought I was kidding. Swear to God, December 31st, my last day, or it was actually December 30th because the 31st I think was a Saturday. My boss then, a different guy who was one of those scumbag bosses that you just don't like because he took over my other boss's job. He, after I already gave my 2 weeks notice, he walked in and says, hey, you can have your job back anytime you want with an email. The guy I hired and started training as my director, I showed him the email. I said, this is the company you work for. Look at they go behind your back. And I showed him the email and my boss said, hey, if you want your job back in a month from now, you can have it back. So when a company tells you can have your job back, which is, it's a good ego thing for me. But when you're training a new guy who's supposed to have the confidence and the ability to train his own people and work, and then you kind of like poo-poo on that, what kind of company is that? That's not a good company. So I showed him the email. I said, this is the company you work for. This is what you just prepared what's going to happen. And I left. At 22 years old, January 1st, 2009, 2008, I left that job. Wow. I started my own training business.
Nice. So how old were you when you came to LA?
24.
So what happens in those 2 years?
I started my training business in the worst economy of ever. It was the worst. It was actually worse than the Great Depression. In 2008, I started my training business.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And I was successful. Somehow I made it successful. I broke even within the first 2 months, and I was actually making money after that. But again, I was working a lot of hours. I was driving around. I was single, so I didn't care. But I was driving probably close to 200 miles a day to different clients. So I go to clients' homes.
Got it.
And the problem with that is people don't appreciate your time, and people are just plain selfish. So people wouldn't call me back. We used to have an appointment, say 5 o'clock during rush hour, and I go to their house, and they wouldn't be home. They wouldn't answer their phones or whatever, you know? So people didn't appreciate time. So after about a year and a half, I got tired of being like a doorstep, you know? So no matter how professional I was, no matter I had time cards, like I made it to where you couldn't say I didn't do that because you signed every time you trained. You signed my time card, you know, your own personal time card, my logo. You signed contracts. Like I had a credit card machine at times. I was top of the class in terms of when I came to train you, I was not messing around. After a year and a half, I met a guy who in South Florida was a manager in LA for many years, Larry, and he's like, you know, and everyone down here puts these scams up, you know, become an actor in LA, you know, become a model. So I was trying to model at the time too, you know, become an actor in LA. We'll teach you how to be an actor, and you can go to LA and blah blah blah. So you know what? Why not? Let's see what all these scams are about. So I'll be honest, I had a gun on me. You know, I'm a concealed weapon holder at the time. I am a Second Amendment pro advocate, so sorry for anyone that's going to be offended by that. And I went to meet this guy with a gun on me. And I walk in, and he looks like he's like 5'2". He's like wide as he is tall, and he goes, "Hello," like that old like smoker's voice, you know, back in like the 60s and 70s, like the old smoker's voice. And the old guy's like, "Hello," and he was also very flamboyant, by the way. He goes, "Hello," you know. We started talking, and he's like, "Look, I was a manager for many years in LA. You know, I had some major clients that you heard of." And I said, "Okay." And we started talking. He's like, "Look, this is my second group. I went about a year ago to LA, and I brought the first group ever out there, and they got agents and managers. And I started looking people up, and yeah, he was legit about it. You know, he had some people that got signed." He had actually one of his clients, I think, was Eric Estrada from Chips.
Nice.
Yeah, so he was a legit manager. I was like, okay, you know, we'll try it out. So for the next year, while I was working, I started learning how to act. And no lie, good as gold. August 2009, we, as a group, flew out to California, my first time ever, and we set up 4 or 6, you know, auditions for managers and agents.
Nice.
And yeah, and some of these agents, you know, you think like they're all hokey. No, we had some major talent there. This guy had some major connections that I didn't realize till after I got at IMDb who some of these agents and managers were. We had some major managers and agents there.
Nice.
Yeah, so we did our thing, and of course I wasn't that good of an actor, and I didn't figure it out till probably about 3 years ago what I was doing wrong. Because, you know, at the time they don't tell you, like, you're not supposed to imitate the actor. You're supposed to do your own thing. And
Right.
I couldn't figure it out until like now that I'm old. I'm like, okay, now I see what I was doing wrong. Lucky enough, however, I picked up an eye for a few different agents and one major manager, like humongous manager. I don't want to say the manager's name, but they're humongous and they work with, I mean, A-list celebrities. So I ended up getting his eye, and for the next 2 years, I tried to get in his management company. Obviously, I had other agents. I auditioned and everything else. But I didn't get nowhere. I kept on auditioning for this guy. I'd walk into his management. I'd audition again. And he'd say, okay, well, now work on this for the next 6 months. And again, the problem is when you become very aggressive like myself and have a strong ego and been told no, and you build that wall of defense saying yes, it doesn't go well when you try to break down a wall every 5 seconds. When, you know, I should have probably, in hindsight, should have took another 3 years before I saw this guy again.
Yeah.
So that taught me a lesson. Again, there's a whole thing on, you know, why it was better it didn't happen, and now we'll get into a further conversation a little bit down the road, and why it's probably better it didn't work out. But yeah.
Wow. So, I guess this is a redundant question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Where did that strong personality start? Where did that overly confident personality come from?
I think just in elementary school, you know, again, I was running in New York where it wasn't the best of areas. You know, it was either two ways. You didn't get the crap beat out of you, or you're going to stand up for yourself and fight back. So I always idolized wrestlers. At the time, Hulk Hogan,
Mhm.
You had all those guys. Like Hulk was my big thing back in the day. So what did Hulk always do? Hulk stood up for the small guy, and he always fought the biggest, baddest guys. Andre the Giant, Ultimate Warrior. He always fought the baddest guys. So what do I want to do? I want to be Hulk Hogan. I don't want to be one of those wieners that got beat up all the time. So I think I definitely developed some kind of precognition to being a stronger person for myself. And obviously, I liked a lot of police shows and movies and military stuff. I wasn't a normal, average 4-year-old kid who watched Sesame Street all day and, pooped his panties, I was playing with, my favorite movie was Godzilla. I watched horror movies at 5 years old. My brother's first words were shit. So my parents we raised are a little bit different than today's children. I love baseball. I love the Yankees. It was just, I was raised a little bit different to love yourself and to just be a stronger adult.
Are you more of a thinker or action person? Like, do you think about things before you do them, or you're just let's go?
I would think about 80-20 thinker to do him. I think with intelligence comes patience sometimes. Again, that's why it's 80-20. Sometimes it's that 20% you're just like, go, 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 go. I don't want to think about it, I just want to do it. 80% of the time, I weigh my options, because at the end of the day, if I do this, there's going to be a consequence. There's either going to be a consequence or some kind of a reward. So again, when I went hiking, for instance, I went with my two friends, hiking one time in, Santa Monica in Escondido, trail. Well, what I didn't know was they said on the bottom, oh, this is a waterfall on top. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome, there's a waterfall. So instead of thinking about it, I went, go, 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 go. So I left my friends behind because I couldn't keep up. And we're not going to the top of the mountain. I'm like, screw it, I'll go, that's 20% of me. I'm going to go get my reward. So I climb to the top, and I get to the top, and there's no water. There's no waterfall. There's barbed wire. I go through the barbed wire, and I'm like, there's no waterfall. I'm like, damn it. So I'm like, screw it. Now, at this point, my phone service, AT&T, by the way, has no cell service in this area. So I'm like, okay, whatever. And I start climbing down the mountain to go see my friends. And all of a sudden, the mountain gives out, and I start sliding. And as I'm sliding, I can see over the hill into my death. So at that point, I did like a movie star, and I reach my left arm around a big rock, and I hold on to it for dear life. I was sliding off the mountain, for sure. I was going off the mountain, I was going to be dead. It was at least 150, 200 feet up over the,
Wow.
Whatever. So I'm holding on like a movie star, and I just remember, I'm thinking, Bear Grylls from, Man vs. Wild. He was always like, you want to shimmy on your butt, shimmy on your butt to get down a mountain. Okay, so the rock stops sliding, and I'm like, okay, I got my control, I'm going back down. So I start shimmying down again, and all of a sudden the rocks give out again on me. So I start sliding further, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm going down the mountain, I'm going to die. At that point, I reached over with my right arm, and I wrapped around one last rock, and I didn't see my light flash before my eyes. So I knew I wasn't going to die. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to die because I didn't see my light flash before my eyes. Whatever, This is God's honest truth. God's honest truth. I didn't think I was going to die. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be fine. So I ended up getting off there finally, and I had to, push my feet against a rock, and then my back against the other side of the rock, and I started walking my way down this rock in between this crevice until I got to the bottom. At this point at the bottom, my friends, by the way, are two gay guys, and I am completely disrobed. I have blood everywhere. I got mud everywhere. My pants are ripped up to my crotch. I have, my underwear is ripped, and we go back to my car, because I couldn't call anyone because the phone service was, Verizon's better than AT&T in LA, and we get to my car, and I'm like, screw this. I'm not getting in my car blood and mud. So in front of my gay friend, I stripped into my boxers, and that was it. And they all had a good laugh because, it was just funny. I'm driving. I said, if I get pulled over by the cops, I'm going to go to jail for something stupid, So I get back to my apartment finally, and after, obviously, the 80% comes in and thinking, that was really dumb. I was by myself. If I fell, no one would have saw me. No one would have heard me, and I'd be dead. So when you're asking me that thinking or aggression, sometimes that aggressiveness gets you in trouble. That's the lesson I'm teaching.
There you go. So when did you move back to Florida? A couple years ago?
We left September 9th, 2016. And the moving story is a story for that might be my best story yet of moving back to Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you give details?
Okay. So sit down for this one. So, moving back to Florida. Let me put my ice pack away real quick. Moving back to Florida. So, about a week earlier, I went to U-Haul. Now, I have a 2003 Camry. 2003 Camry. The year 2016. This is important, and I'll tell you why. So, I go to U-Haul, and I go, hey, look, I got a 2003 Camry. Will I be able to tow one of those trailers? And they look on their computer, and they go, yes, it says on their computer you can tow the trailer. Okay, I'd like to reserve this trailer. So the day before we were about to move, they called me up and said, hey, we don't have your trailer. I'm like, what do you mean you don't have my trailer? I reserved it. They go, no, we're going to give you a bigger one. I said, okay, whatever. Thank you. Appreciate it. So in between that, I call 3 more times, and I check with different people. Hey, are you sure I can tow this trailer from my car? Yes. Our computers say yes. So the day before we move, they're like, oh, you got to get U-Haul today, though. I'm like, what do you mean? It's not till tomorrow. No, you got to get it today. So where we were living in Burbank, it was a gated apartment complex, and they were very strict on where you could park and everything else. I was afraid we were going to get towed. So I had to talk to the manager and say, yes, just leave it at a certain place. We'll be good. Okay. Park the trailer for the night, hook it up to the car, good to go. Pack the trailer, and we leave. Like, no problem, right? So we leave about, I want to say 11 o'clock in the morning, and we're already hitting bumper-to-bumper traffic on the 10, as usual. Right at that time, boom, traffic. So I don't really – and then we're driving 3 cars at a time – no, 2 cars. My wife's Volt and my Camry, and I'm dragging the trailer. Don't have any issue because it's bumper-to-bumper traffic. You don't feel anything. Finally, on the 10, we get a little bit of roadway, and all of a sudden my car revs up a little bit. It goes vroom, and it kind of does this little pause. I'm like, okay, maybe it's my car getting used to the weight. I don't know.
Right.
And so we're driving more, and all of a sudden it starts kind of boom and boom. I'm like, what the hell is that? It's kind of stalling a little bit. Okay, we're getting through. We finally, after 5 hours, get to East California. Not near the border just yet, but close to the border. We stop at a gas station where my dogs decided to get into a fight, and they're both bleeding everywhere, all over the place. They ripped each other open. So I'm now closing these 2 idiots up as they're bleeding everywhere, and this is the beginning of our trip. So, by the way, here they are, my little boys. I love them. So these idiots get into a huge fight, and they're bleeding everywhere. Finally, we close them up, and we get on our way. Now it's like nighttime, maybe 9 or 10 o'clock at night. And now my car has more issues, and then it starts to stop and stall. Then my check engine light comes on the entire time. So for the next 55 hours, it took us to go from East California to New Mexico. 55 hours straight. My car.
To New Mexico.
My car would stall out every 2 minutes. Not even joking. The engine light would come on and go vroom, and then you'd have no power to your gas, and you would stall and ride out in the stall. So the funny story about that was we get to Phoenix, and I go to my engine. I pop the hood because I don't know what's going on. I'm not a mechanic. And there's no oil in my gas tank, or no oil in my oil tank, right? So I take, I don't know how many quarts of oil my car takes. I'm like, whatever, And I'm just dumping oil in there, I'm in Phoenix. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm dumping oil in there like an idiot. So I dumped 7 quarts of oil in my car. So my car's only a 4.8 liter oil. I'm dumping 7 liters. I don't know what I'm doing. Or quarts. So now it's morning time. So my wife is driving my car, and I'm driving the Volt because now we're switching because my wife's driving with a friend, or I was driving by myself for the last 24 hours, and now we're only in Phoenix. When Phoenix only takes 5 hours to get there. So now we switch cars, and my wife's driving the Camry. And all of a sudden, I kid you not, if you ever played Mario Kart, all of a sudden you hear bang, and this humongous black puff of smoke comes out of my car. and it blinds the entire I-10 highway in Phoenix.
Oh my God.
Black as night. No one can see anything. And you just hear bang, bang, and it just puffs of smoke. So I am cracking up obviously it was dangerous, but at the time it was so funny because you can't see, My wife calls and goes, "What the hell is that?" And she can't see me. She says, "I can't see. I just blacked out the entire, drive." And I'm laughing so hard. Oh my God. It was dangerous, but it was so funny because you just see this black smoke. So whatever, So then we keep on stalling on the highway. We stall. I'm calling U-Haul and I'm yelling at them. I'm like, what's going on here? I don't think this is right. No, sir, this is right. So mind you, this time it's got to be, we're only in the Phoenix, maybe driving a little bit east, and it's 100 and something degrees. No lie. The dog's with us. It's 100 and something degrees. And now my wife's getting real cranky. Because, she can't put the air conditioner on because when she puts the air conditioner on, the car stalls out immediately. So now it's 100, I want to say it's 102 degrees. And it's September time. She has the air conditioner off. And the dogs are freaking out now. The dogs are sweating. She's sweating. So we continue to pull over. Now it's, I want to say hour 30 something. We get stuck on the side of the road in Arizona again, out of Phoenix. And again, it's an 80 mile an hour highway on the 10.
Yeah.
And you just hear cars going,
and
humongous semis driving right. No one's stopping for us. Humongous semis going by us. And I call U-Haul again and start yelling at them. Hey, this is dangerous. You need to come get us. U-Haul's like, no, we're not coming to you. Whatever. Finally, after 55 hours of me not sleep, this is God's honest truth. I haven't slept for 55 hours. I've been drinking Monsters. I don't ever drink Monsters. We get to a hotel in New Mexico. Now, right before that, my car stalls again. And I tell my wife, listen, just go to the hotel, get us a hotel, I'll meet you there. I can't, she's crying. She's crying at this point, freaking out. I can't do it anymore. The dogs are crying. I'm sweating. I can't breathe. And I'm like, just go to the hotel. I'll meet you there. So for another hour and a half, I literally go a mile. Stop, mile, stop. And I had to stop for 10 minutes to let the engine cool down. For the next hour and a half, 2 hours, that's what happened. I finally get to the hotel. And my wife and friend are sleeping. So I go to bed about another hour later. I take a shower. I had to calm down. And then I go to sleep. I wake up 2 hours later. And I'm the first one up to get ready. I go in the bathroom, shower, get ready to go. So from New Mexico, we drive to El Paso. That took another 30-something hours, 40 hours.
Wow.
Again, you're from Texas, so you've driven, I'm sure, before. It should only take you from New Mexico to El Paso. It should only take you maybe, 5 hours again, 6 hours?
At the most, yeah.
It took me another 30-something, 40 hours.
Shit.
So, and the car's overheating. We had to drive at night because the car couldn't handle 100-something degree weather. It had to be at night in the 70s. Because then, at night in the desert, people don't know, the desert starts dropping dramatically.
Yeah.
The temperatures go into the 60s at night in the hot. So we're driving at night, and my car maybe goes 2-3 miles and it stalls out. So finally, another 40 hours later, I think it was roughly 40, we get to El Paso area. Now, before we get to El Paso, my wife is exhausted. And she's like, we got to pull over. Because now I'm starting to actually hallucinate while driving. I'm driving myself. My wife's got a friend, Elise, so they're taking turns. I'm hallucinating. So we pull up to this hotel in the middle of nowhere. And just like a movie, there's 2 cars that drive up. And you just see 3 people shaving each other's heads in the middle of the front of the office. God's honest truth. These people are staring at us like we did something wrong. We're by the border. So you can see the border wall right behind them. And you see these 3 guys are shaving their heads and they're staring at us. And I'm like, my wife goes, F this, we're leaving. These guys they're going to kill us. So we leave the hotel and we drive another 80 miles until we get to El Paso. And we get to El Paso and we get to it was a Days Inn, I believe. So we take the dogs out and we're outside. We're like, hey guys, go out and go pee. The dogs, don't pee outside. We go inside the hotel room and they piss right on the rug. This room was so disgusting, my dogs wouldn't pee outside. They peed inside on the rug. They pissed, as soon as they walked in, they sniffed that gun and just started letting loose. These jerks. So I'm like, I'm so tired at this point. I'm like, I gotta now clean up dog piss. So my wife showers again, and they go to bed, and I'm up. Now, my wife is sleeping in her, shirt, sweatshirt, She's like covering herself like a whole hoodie. She's like, I am not touching this bed. God forbid we know what's wrong with this bedroom right now, you know? It was so dirty that we slept like we were like huddled up in like tents almost in our own bed. So again, I go to sleep last, and I wake up first. So now I got, I think, another 3 hours of sleep. So I'm on a total of 5 hours of sleep and about 90-something hours. I am exhausted.
Jesus.
Now, what I didn't tell you was, at the same time, Hurricane Irma was barreling down on Florida. This is in 2016. This is the hurricane that was a Category 5 at the time. And they said it was going to be a direct hit in Florida. Now, mind you, again, I'm a Second Amendment advocate. I'm trying to get back to my family because if something major happens in Florida or anywhere like that, people start looting. People start getting crazy. Look at Katrina. They start killing each other for food. And I got to get back to my parents. I got to protect my house. So Hurricane Irma's coming, and we're only in El Paso. So we get to El Paso, and we get to the U-Haul station there. And I'm like, you know what? We can't do it anymore. We're not going to make good time. We need to change out for, you know, maybe a rental car. So my wife goes to Enterprise in El Paso and rents a van. So she's at the airport renting the van, and she brings it over there. I'm like, what the hell is this? Like a minivan. Now we look like we're three students. We got 3 cars now. And we start unloading the entire U-Haul. And we're giving stuff away to the people there. My wife has a whole shoe rack we're giving away. I have 4 goji berry trees. If you know anything about goji berry trees, they're the most antioxidant thing in the world. I'm giving them away to people. I'm so angry. I gave away lemon trees. I gave away everything because we couldn't fit it in the van. So I have guns. I have ammo. I have all this stuff that's more important to me. So we unload the entire U-Haul, and we now load it into the van. And we gave things away, and then we start back on our track. So, of course, my car keeps on overheating. So from El Paso, we finally got to Austin, I believe, the next day. So El Paso to Austin, I think should only be like, what, a 4-hour drive, maybe 5 hours?
Yeah.
It's going to be another 24 plus hours. So the next day, and I have pictures of this, and this comes important as well. So we get to Austin, Texas, right? And now we're at the Capitol. And my car again dies on the middle of the highway that's in Austin. Now, mind you, the 3 cars are filled to the gills, where I'm saying, like, when you're driving, my right arm in the van, because I was driving the van because it was the biggest car and had most stuff in it, my arm was resting on, like, a electric drill. My rifle was hitting the back of my head. My drills I'm on. Like, that's how I was driving for the whole trip. I had no room in the car. The car was so packed that the dogs had one little spot, and that was it. They couldn't move. So my wife again broke down in Austin, has another mental breakdown. Says, I can't do it anymore. You know, the dogs are crying. The cars are driving by us. It's in the middle of the major highway in Austin. And I'm taking pictures of it. You know what? I'm taking pictures of this. So finally, we drive to AutoZone. The guy does an engine check. Yeah, your spark plugs blew out and your catalytic converter's bad. Oh, whatever. Just what can we do? So the guy wasn't supposed to, but we told him the story what was going on. He goes, okay, I'll change your spark plugs for you, but I never did it for him. Like, whatever, man, just freaking do it. It's been 100 and something hours. The whole trip should have only taken 38 hours, you know? Yeah. If you look on, so I'm already at like 130 hours. Like, dude, please just change the spark plug. So he ends up changing the spark plug, and now my car's finally working, you know? No more hiccups. It's actually working. So we stay in Austin for the day. You know, we see Austin. We hang out for a day or two. And then Irma's so at that time we think ourselves from Austin to Louisiana is only like a couple hours, and then from Louisiana to Florida is only, 10 hours. We can make it in the next like 2 days. I think at that point Irma is only like 48 hours out. Like we'll see Louisiana, we'll see, some of the parts of the country we haven't seen. Because honestly, who thinks they're gonna go back to Mississippi ever again or Alabama? We don't go. We're Jewish. We don't do those places, So we drive from Austin. We drive to Louisiana, New Orleans, and we're like, okay, my wife loves New Orleans. We stay in New Orleans for the day. We eat freaking muffaladas like it's coming out of my blood. We get the donuts. We get all that stuff that you always read about.
All right.
And so my wife falls in love with New Orleans. So a day and a half later, we trek to through Mississippi. We trekked through, which by the way, I found the best barbecue joint ever. So if your listeners ever want to know the best barbecue that I've ever had, it's called The Shed. In Mississippi, it's in Oceanside. It's on nice. It's right off the I-10. It's ranked in the top of the country, but this is by far the best one I ever had, hands down. It's called The Shed. They actually have their barbecue sauces in supermarkets. So we drive through Mississippi. We drive through Alabama. Hurricane Irma is now approximately like 17 hours away or some that time. And we get to her aunt's for the night. Her aunt lives on Sarasota, Florida, which is the West Coast. At that time, they shut down Florida completely. So
Wow.
we couldn't get across the state because it was a Category 5. So I'm like, great, I've missed my parents, but now I'm afraid, like, if it does do devastation to East Florida, that, my parents are going to be unarmed and there's going to be looters and everything else, like there always is. So I'm kind of unhappy and kind of freaking out. And, we stayed at our aunt's for the next, 2-3 days. Thank God Irma at the last second curved, off the coast of Florida and missed Florida completely. I think the most it got was a Category 1, which is to Florida nothing. It's like it's like wind storm. So we hung out in Florida, and then we drive east to my parents in West Palm Beach. We get to the West Palm Beach airport. We drop the Enterprise van off. The guy goes, "Okay, your bill is $1,900.
What?
I go, "What?" They go, "Yeah, you were a day late." I'm like, "Dude, it was a hurricane. You guys weren't even in the office. You guys ran." "Well, sorry, sir. It says your bill is $1,911. I go, no. I said, "Who can I talk to?" "Oh, well, you rented this in El Paso. You got to talk to the El Paso store." So for the next 3 months, I'm calling the El Paso store. No one calls back. And Enterprise, no one calls back. So I call corporate, and corporate says, "Well, you rented it locally. We can't do anything about it. You got to call the local store." I go to them and tell them, "Look, your local store not answering the phone. Can't help you, sir." At the same time, I'm fighting Enterprise. I'm fighting U-Haul. So U-Haul says that they're not responsible for my car's damage. Now I'm fighting with U-Haul. I'm like, I need to talk to the manager. Going up the chain. Everyone's like, no. We're not helping you. Blah blah blah. So finally, I get to a woman in U-Haul. And this is like more upper management, like the secretary. And she goes, "Sir, I've seen you called like 20-something times." And I go, "Yes, ma'am, I have." "Sir, it says in my computer, a new 2003 Camry can tow this U-Haul." I go, "Ma'am, stop right there." I said, "Stop right there. What'd you say?" She goes, "Sir, a new 2003 Camry can tow this way." I go, "Ma'am, what year is it?" She goes, 2016. I said, "Ma'am, is there a new 2003 Camry anywhere in the year 2016? She goes, and that was it. At that point, I knew I won. So what ended up happening was I got in touch with the guy for U-Haul who does the arbitration.
Okay.
And for the next 2 months, I start talking to this guy about, what's wrong, what happened. I solidified, I sent all the documentation. My car, I was smart enough to know to get a checkup for my car right before I left California. So I had documentation on that. I had documentation of the car, what the woman said and everything else. I went to Toyota down here because dealership, you want to get your car checked out by a dealership. I got a price to fix the catalytic converter and the spark plugs. The price was like $1,500 plus labor. It came out to like $2,300. It was ridiculous.
Right.
So I submitted that, and for the next month and a half, I'm waiting. And finally, I leave class one day because I'm going to class something down here, and I got a call from U-Haul. And as one of the guys wants to settle the arbitration before we go to arbitration. See, what U-Haul doesn't tell you is if they go to arbitration, they got to pay $3,500, and they have to pay it, not me. So I found this out. When you read the really, really fine print on something, it says, U-Haul will pay arbitration fees. I'm like, okay, I know what's going on now. Guy calls me and says, "Hey, David, this is what's called Mike from U-Haul. Listen, give me a call back, buddy. I think I got good news for you." Okay, I call the guy back when I left the class, and I go, "Hey, sir, how you doing?" "Hey, it's only listen, we want to settle on like $1,100. I go, respectfully. I go, "Sir, I really appreciate you getting back to me. It's really sweet. However, I'm going to have to decline your offer." And he goes, "Well, why, bud?" Because again, these are salesmen, part of sales. They're all salesmen. He goes, "Why, bud?" I said, "Well, here's the deal, sir." I said, "I know for a fact U-Haul's going to pay $3,500 to go to arbitration. I also know the reason why you're calling me is because you already know I have a case, and therefore you're going to lose." I said, "Even so, if I lost, but still went to arbitration, it's going to cost you $3,500. But if I win, then I'm asking for a lot of money. I'm asking for, I think, like $4,000, whatever it was." I said, it's going to cost you $7,600 if you lose to me, in which I already know I've won because you wouldn't be calling me if I didn't have a case. So here's the deal, sir. I'm going to ask for $3,600. I said, I'm going to give you a day to figure it out. I said, if you don't come back, we go to arbitration. Because arbitration, I think, was the next day or two. And I said, you have like pretty much get back to me as soon as possible. Let me know if $3,600 works out for you. I said, if you lose, it's going to cost you $7,600. If you win, it's still going to cost you $3,500. Called him back 20 minutes later. He says, you got a deal. I probably could have asked for $4,000 and got it, but I was like, you know what? For $3,600, I know he'll take it right then and there. I wanted the 100 over. Just to be a jerk, I wanted the $100 more than what it actually cost U-Haul to go to arbitration. At this time, I'm also fighting with Enterprise. Now, Enterprise would not give us back our money or subtract, because again, there's actually a law. If you go to law school, or because we learn law in Northwood University, that if it's an act of God, you can't get in trouble for an act of God. Hurricanes, earthquakes. So if something happened in California, it's a big one hit, and let's say your rent was due, they can't fault you for not paying rent when an act of God happens. Which I know this, but the companies, again, because they're large companies, they won't tell you this stuff. Right. And I'm fighting with Enterprise for months. So finally, after like 3 months of going up the chain and everyone not calling us back and telling us we're wrong, a lady calls my wife one day. And, again, I forget where we are at the time. And she starts looking, I'm actually at a something for my brother. My brother had gotten into a drug issue, so I was actually at rehab with him. And she calls me, and I'm standing outside talking to her for over an hour. And she sees my call log. She sees, like, Mr. Titlebaum, I see you call like 33 times. Yes, ma'am, I have. I said, I'm not going to give up. And she goes, what's the problem? I told her exactly what happened. I said, ma'am, it was an act of God. Hurricane Irma was coming. I said, how would you like it if you were in Florida and your family is possibly in danger and you can't return to rental land because no one's even in the store? They all left to shut down the store. I said, how is that? It's impossible to return the van anyway. And you're supposed to give 48 hours after an act of God to make things right. She goes, you know what? You're right. So don't hear anything else for like another 2 weeks. And all of a sudden we're driving and my wife gets a phone call. And it's like the major guy at Enterprise, like one of the top, like right under the CEO. I forget what he was, but he was like right under the CEO. And we told him the entire story. And after he's done, he goes, that is absolutely horrible. You guys are 100% right. I'm refunding you the entire $1,900.
Nice.
So that whole ride, which was miserable and was over like 200 hours long when it only should talk, maybe took us with stopping maybe 50 hours. We got our entire trip paid for.
Wow.
So
that's the story.
Yeah. When you were asking about, perseverance, like if I was just walking and say, you know what, whatever, U-Haul, I would have a broken car. It would have cost me, thousands of dollars anyway for rental fees. It would have cost us $1,900 for Enterprise. And by the end, I got back like almost $5,000.
Usually at this point, I ask my guests to share some words of wisdom, but I think this whole story has been words of wisdom. It's damn, dude, like that. This one's for the books, definitely.
Oh, I didn't even tell you how I met my wife.
Well, we're gonna have to come back to that one. You're gonna have to come back on the show because we're running out of time. But there's a couple of questions that I ask at the end. So if in the story in the book of David, when they write your biography, what's the first sentence in the book?
What a great president he was.
And if you could title this episode, what would you title it?
I want to say something along the lines, when life gives you dirt, make lemonade.
I like that. So are you going to pursue acting at any point again?
Well, here's the thing. I'm married now. I got a wife. We want to start a family soon. I'm 34 years old. Even though I look like I'm still 20s, if I had more hair, I probably look like I'm still like 25, 26, except for I don't sleep either. But I don't have wrinkles. I look pretty good for my age. I'm 34 though. If I was selfish, I could, for sure. But again, if I want to have a family, would you want to put your family through that at struggling and poor? The actor's life is not meant for an older adult. It's meant for, kids. So especially with no credits, you're not breaking into the industry unless you already have credits in your roster, which I really don't. So no, I'd rather look towards the future, making money, having a nice house, family. My kids can do that if they want. If they want to say they've tried, great. I'm not going to stop them from trying. I didn't, so why would it be, that dad that says, no, I want you to do that? That's up to them.
Cool. And, I still want to know, if you could share some words of wisdom with our audience, what would you share?
Don't ever take no for an answer. No, but know when you're beat, and just and focus your energy in a different way. But as you can see, the, large corporations, they're always going to tell a little guy, no, you're wrong. And they're going to try to beat you. Stand up for what you actually believe in if you actually know you're right, and go and see it all the way through.
Awesome. Well, for everybody listening, this has been David.
Title.
Again, title.
Baum.
There you go. My Spanish accent sometimes kicks in. But, thank you, man. I feel like we didn't even touch the tip of the iceberg. You have to come back and share some more stories.
Stories. I got stories.
I'm hoping that we'll be able to come out to Florida soon and, we can do this live. But, for everybody listening, again, thank you, David, for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me.
For everybody out there, I want to thank my producer, Mr. Kevin Moyers, for all his help and support. Thank you, sir. Inviting y'all, check us out at normalentertainment.com, where you can find all the shows on the network. Find me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter, where you can find everything that's going on with Put It Together and Little Mexican Productions. So I hope to find you there. I don't know what I was going to say there. Find me there so you can find out what we're working on. For now, I want to thank David for being on the show. And all of you, this is Daniel Garza saying, hey, put it together.
This is how I put it together.
This is how I put it together.
This is how I put it together.
Subscribe to Put It Together on iTunes, Stitcher, and at abnormalentertainment.com/putittogether. Find Put It Together on Facebook and tweet Daniel at Lil Messican, LILMESICAN. And for more podcasts, comics, books, movies, and more, head to abnormalentertainment.com.
You've been listening to the Abnormal Entertainment Network.